Hello, everyone. It seems we're live. I'm hoping so. It's been a couple of months since our last LinkedIn Live. And so I'm hoping that I remember how to do all of the technical stuff since I had a good vacation and I hope all of you did too. So today, what I'd like to do is talk to you about speaking client. And I'll get into that in just a second. As you can tell, I've already forgotten that I have to introduce myself for all those who are not from here and who have never met me before. So I'm Julia Poger. I'm a business, conference, and diplomatic interpreter, and I work from Russian and French into English and from English into Russian. As you probably know, I run a business also called Know Your Worth, where I help interpreters and really any service professional to get your name out, to sell your services so that you can work at the fees that you want and at the conditions that you need. So please write in the comments where you're watching from today. I'd love to hear it. And before I move on to the topic of speaking client, I'd just like to say that I'd like to ask you to stick around until the end of the show to find out what we'll be talking about next month in October, who my guest will be, and also an opportunity to work on today's topic a bit more in depth. Okay, so let's get going. And as I said already, our topic, as you know, is speaking client. Now, first of all, I need to ask you a question. Why is it that you think that our messages to clients sometimes fall flat? Okay, we send out messages, we write letters, we talk about our services, we have websites. And why is it, other than the fact that maybe you're not drawing enough people to your website, apart from that, why is it, do you think, that our messages are falling flat? And this is a really big question for a lot of us. And before I get there, I just want to say hi. Hi to Agnieszka. It's good to see you again. And Anna from Houston, and Alicia. Whoops. And gosh, Alicia from New York. And Abhishek. And all sorts of people coming in from France and so on, and from Moscow as well. I'm very happy to see you here. Really happy to see you here, in fact. So why do our messages to clients fall flat? Because, as Agnieszka says, and beautifully, because we speak interpreter. And that's very true. If any of you have seen the other short video that I did together with Lourdes de Rioja, then you will have seen that this is the main problem. Our accountants, our lawyers, our plumbers, they all know about their jobs, but they know nothing about ours. And so when we talk to our clients and our prospective clients and prospects and so on, without thinking about what it is that they don't know, we end up throwing jargon around like we do when we talk to our colleagues. Partly because we figure, well, hey, I know this, you should know this too, which is never true. Partly because we think it will impress them and it'll make us seem smart. If you recall the last LinkedIn Live that I did with Frederick Kermish, he was talking about that with the child persona, the little professor, where you're just talking and talking and talking about all of the things that you know, trying to make the person like you. When all it really does is it confuses the situation and you present far too many opportunities to make mistakes. And if you're confusing them, your clients will just walk off and go elsewhere. And then we get upset because they don't understand us. They don't understand how important it is for us to hear clearly, or to have documents before a session, or even to have something to drink while we're working. Of course they don't. You don't know how important it is for your accountant to have certain documents, or for your plumber to know what model heater you have before he comes to try and fix the parts. That's what they specialize in, and this is what you specialize in. So we need to stop thinking as if our clients understand us. And when I say clients, that can also be besides direct clients, it can be your colleagues and agencies. And of course, colleagues and agencies can also be our clients, as I just said, and they understand what we're talking about when we say, oh, I do whispering and I do remote and I do this and I do that. But when they're acting as your client, they have some of the same concerns that clients do. They've already contacted you, your colleagues or the agencies, because they know what you can provide. They know that what you provide matches what they need, but they don't know for sure that you can answer their problems, that you can solve their problems. And that's one of the really difficult things. And gosh, I've got all sorts of people here that I know. Hi, Dimitri. Good to see you. So what I'd like to know is, what exactly does it mean to speak client? Well, I'd like to give you an example. In fact, a very good friend of mine just sent me an Instagram reel, and I'll put the link to that in the comments. It's in Russian, but the body language is so obvious that you'll still understand what's going on. So you have a woman and her husband who are dress shopping. Obviously, he's not very happy. And she has this magnificent evening dress on. And the saleswoman is going on and on about all of the features of the dress. What wonderful silk, and where the bugle beads came from, and who designed it and where it was made, and how it's the only one that we have. And so you'd better get it because it's the only one. And the wife turns to her husband and she's like, so what do you think? And you can tell she really wants the dress. But the whole time this woman has been going on, the saleswoman, the guy has been looking worrieder and concerneder, and these are not words, more and more worried and concerned. There you go. And at the end, he just looks at his wife and he says, I don't understand a word that was just said. So the saleswoman says, don't worry about it, and calls Sergey out from behind and says, Sergey, this is your client. So Sergey comes out and he shakes hands with the husband, turns, looks at the wife in the dress, and he explains to the husband exactly what the dress is. And he says, well, you won't have to wash dishes for 2 weeks at least. And I bet that for at least a couple of months, all you'll ever have to do around the house is sit around and watch TV. And at the end of the month, you definitely have a fishing trip with the guys, no problem. The husband, suddenly his face clears up. He understands everything perfectly. And so he turns around and suddenly you can see from his body language in his face, before he was all like tense and worried and stuff. And now he's all expansive and he's happy and he says, we'll take the dress. Great, no problem. And the wife goes hurrying off. She's so excited. And the saleswoman is like, you've made a great choice. And he knows he's made a great choice because he won't have to do the dishes and he gets to go fishing with the guys. And this is what it means to speak client. Okay, so let's bring this back to our own world a bit now. If you recall, during COVID, there were a lot of attempts to try and get clients to use headsets because we didn't know better at the time, or external mics, but anything except the integrated mic in the computer. Anything. And one phrase that I kept seeing that all of the interpreters were using everywhere was, please use an external microphone so your interpreters can hear you better. What's wrong with this sentence? Well, the main thing is the client is thinking, I can hear fine. I'm sure the interpreters can hear fine enough too. Who cares, right? They have no idea what it means for them. And so they just dismiss us as if we're divas, or as if we really don't understand anything. And what some people have said is, try and explain it to them that, oh, well, the cognitive load is just so hard that when I'm listening and talking at the same time, it's not clear enough. Now, you could get the client to listen and talk at the same time, just with something on their own computer so that they can see how difficult it is. But I don't know too many clients that would allow themselves to go for this kind of an exercise. So when I went on a podcast once towards the beginning of lockdown, I was talking about something not to do with interpreting practically at all. And the host asked me for a tip. And the last tip that I gave was please, 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 everyone should use an external microphone because your listeners will strain to hear you otherwise, even if they don't notice it. You may think that you're sounding clear enough because you can hear clearly enough, but you have no idea what they are hearing. And when they strain, they get fatigued and they'll start getting headaches because they won't know why. And so subliminally, they'll get the message that they don't like you at all. They don't like your message and they won't buy from you because you are not easy to listen to. I had at least one person write in under the podcast in the comments, I'm going out immediately and getting an external microphone. I had no idea. So what's the difference between my message and the standard your interpreters can't hear you? The client, as I said, is thinking, well, I can hear things just fine. So what's with these interpreters? They're just being divas. I'm not going to bother. But if you say your message is making your clients not like you because they're unconsciously straining to hear you, you're actually showing your client what's in it for them. And you don't have to use headaches. There are all sorts of ways of making it palatable for your client to use an external microphone. Your message will get across clearer. Um, and beyond that, uh, you can hear well because you're in a good office, but your clients may not be able to hear you as well, hear as well as you can. So anything that you can do to keep your own clients more engaged with you is only for the good. Okay. So how can I make it easier for my clients? Well, I think you've already figured some of this out, but I'm still going to tell you. And if you have any comments or any suggestions to make it easier for your clients, I'd love to hear them and I'd love to show them. And let me just say hi to other people. Hi, Natalia from London. And I'm really glad that that Valentine and Alicia have been finding what I've been saying resounds with them. So let's get back to how can we make it easier for our clients. So again, if you have any suggestions, I would be thrilled to hear them. First of all, and this is the easiest thing, we need to lose the jargon. Clients just don't understand our jargon, and it only confuses them. And when they hear it often enough, they think they know what it means. And then they get upset when you tell them that you can't do the thing that they just named, right? Because they call you and they assume that you're a service provider. So they're going to tell you the service that you're going to provide. So they're going to say, I need you to whisper, interpret to a large group on this tour of a factory. And you're like, what? No, I can't do that. I mean, we're doing a factory tour and so on. It's going to be loud if I have more than two people or maybe three at the outside. I can't whisper. So no, obviously I can't do that. And they're going to say, what are you talking about? Of course you can do that. I'll just call somebody else who can. And they'll call people until they finally find out what it is that they want to hear. So what you need to do is use easy words that your clients can understand. For example, instead of saying that you can work consecutively, whispering, simultaneous, remotely, whatever, why not just say, I can work standing next to you in front of an audience. I can work at the table over a meal or during a negotiation. I can also work in the back of a room or on a computer screen. And this is pretty much what I say on my interpreting website, where I'm advertising my services to my clients. I don't ever use, simultaneous or whispering or anything. I just say I can work at, standing next to you in front of an audience, at a table, over a meal, during a negotiation, in a booth at the back of a room, or on a computer screen. We'll see what works best. Or else you can ask lots of questions to find out exactly what the situation is, and then say that you certainly could interpret for a group during a factory tour. That's not a problem. I could use a portable system where I have a microphone and everybody has earphones so that everybody can hear me clearly. And that way, it doesn't matter how loud everything gets. And so this is what your client will understand. Okay. And they'll understand then when you say, it won't matter how loud people get. It won't matter if the delegates want to look at something over here while the person who's showing them the factory is standing over here, because they'll all have earphones and they'll all hear the interpretation perfectly, which means that whatever you want to say to them, they will hear perfectly, as opposed to somebody shouting and somebody not being able to hear, because we don't know how old are their ears. How old are my ears, quite frankly? Anyway, so let's take a look at a couple of your questions, and both from Anna. So, any tips for convincing a new client that interpreters work in pairs and that it's in the interest of the client that interpreters have PowerPoints beforehand instead of just the company's webpage? Well, Anna, what I'm thinking is that, first of all, wait for the top tip at the end of today's show, because that will definitely help you out in figuring out how to do this. But just to give you the example with the new client and interpreters work in pairs, are they a new client really, or have they actually worked with somebody who only worked alone? So, because those are two separate battles. If they are truly a new client, it's really obvious that you can say, I realize it's, even if it's a short meeting, I realize it's a short meeting, it's on remote, I could do it from home. Yes, that's fine. What happens if there's a storm and my internet kicks out? Will your meeting be okay if I'm no longer there? Will all of the money and the time that you put into this be wasted if I'm no longer able to connect because a tree just came down on the external wires and I don't have anything left to go online with? Or what if, and this has happened to me, I'm in a team of 3 doing a remote job for like a day, and 2 people are in a hub at an international organization, and I'm working from home, and the international organization's signal cut out. So I'm the one who saved the meeting because I was at home. So this is one way of doing it if it's a remote meeting, if it's a completely new person, and so on. And of course, there are all sorts of situations, such as colleagues who says he's able to work 10 hours alone. Um, yeah, he might be able to. You could point to studies that show that after 45 minutes, actually after 30 minutes, interpreters start making more and more mistakes. You could point to the interpreter that I know of who has done all sorts of solo jobs and then had a heart attack. So there's all sorts of arguments that you could use. But again, what you need to do is think about who your client is. Just like the saleswoman who understood that the husband was going to need a guy's approach to this so that he would understand, you won't have to do chores, you can go fishing, you can watch TV all day without anything else. He picked up exactly what the guy would want, while she was saying all the things that the woman would want. So, each of them was focusing on a different client. If this is an amateur colleague, or sorry, a new colleague or an amateur interpreter who doesn't know, I've run into this very often. The amateurs actually think that it's much more professional to work alone. It shows how professional they are that they're able to do that. It's only after having done that that they understand that it's actually much more professional to be changing off every half hour or 15 minutes, depending on what your schedule is. In any case, and hello to Valentin from Argentina, who's tired of being underpaid, and rightly so. We are all tired of it. So there's almost nothing I can say to you about that. But in any case, one of the things that you can do is get your client messages better. Watch any of these LinkedIn Lives and you'll be sure to get some hints. So the next question that I have to ask you or to talk to you about is, when is it best to send our client messages? When is it best to talk to the client so that they understand really what it is you do and so that they want to hire you? Okay, so you have so many opportunities that it's not even funny. Okay, think about the entire customer journey from the social media posts that they see that you've posted before they ever even need you, before they even know that they might need you. So they'll see these social media posts possibly. And if they don't see them before they know they need you, somebody might recommend you. They'll go onto social media or on Google or whatever and look for you. And then they'll look at some of your past posts because those are the ones that they're going to get to know you through. So there's that. After they've contacted you for your availability and fees, after they've signed the contract and you're preparing for your interpreting job, you're still in touch with the client. And after you've finished interpreting and you're billing them, you can also have the opportunity to talk to them about what happened and how they could make their meeting better next time. There are all these opportunities, but you absolutely have to get into their heads. You have to understand what problems they had, not what problems you had. Oh, I didn't get the PowerPoints. Could you make sure I get them beforehand next time? No, no. Why would I bother doing that? What's in it for me? And you need to know this abbreviation, WIIFM. What's in it for me? Because if you know what's in it for you, or actually if you know what's in it for the client, then you can speak to the client in a way that they understand. Again, like the husband in that reel. So in the posts, before they even know you, you could be speaking about problems that you know clients run into when they need interpreting or translation or whatever. And you can let them know how to solve them. Various problems, things like doing a factory tour. Have you ever wanted to do a factory tour with your delegation and nobody could hear anybody talking? And delegates kept wandering around because they found parts of the factory really interesting, but they weren't paying attention to the person giving them the tour. Well, have you thought of using a system where, and then talk to them in very simple terms, not even using the word tour guide system, because this is also a technical term in certain ways, and you can tell them how you've solved it. When they ask for your availability and fees, you could be asking questions and letting them know in simple language how you can help them. One of my favorite questions, and this is becoming like the question, is when a client comes to you and they say, we need interpreting, and you say, okay, would you prefer to save time or money? If you prefer to save time, it will cost you more because we will need to do things at the same time as the speaker is speaking, so that it won't take extra time, but we'll need special equipment, we'll need a soundproofed booth, I'll need a partner to work with me. So this will cost you a lot more money. If you prefer to save the money rather than the time, I can work alone. All I need is a pen and a notepad and a microphone, and I need to be able to hear and see the speaker. But that makes things so much easier for you. It just will take twice as long. Do you have that time? And then they understand. And what have I just been asking? I've been asking, do you need simultaneous or do you need consecutive? But they don't understand those terms. What they do understand is, do you have money or time? After they've signed the contract, you could let them know that their remote clients will pay better attention to the message if they can hear it clearly. And so therefore they might need an external mic. They also have no idea where their clients are going to be calling in from. And so what happens if they're calling in from a cafe somewhere and there's a lot of clinking glasses and so on. And sorry, something just fell here. And so they would need that external mic to be able to cut through all of the background noise that they're hearing. And that person would need an external mic to be able to cut through the background noise if they're planning on helping, on getting their message back to you. And then after the job is over, you could give them a simple debriefing, ask them, would you like to figure out ways of making your meeting better next time? And make sure that you talk to them always from their point of view, in ways that creates value for them, while helping you at the same time. Okay? But always come at it from their point of view. Now, I am going to ask, what should you never, ever say? And this is kind of big, and I do see it all over the place. So I know it happens. I'm hoping that it will stop happening and that people will start, thinking a bit more about their clients and how they talk to them. But what do you think when you are speaking client and when you are on social media and doing your posts and doing all sorts of other things, and talking to your client in person or online? What should you never say? And I'm going on about this just a bit because I know that there's something like a 15-second lag between when I start talking and you actually hear what I'm saying. So I'm actually just talking now to fill in a bit of time to find out what you think that we should never say to clients before I tell you the one thing that you cannot ever say. I'm not yet seeing any answers. And I do know that we've got some active people. So either the lag is long or they're taking a while to type. So maybe I'll give you my version first while you're typing. And if you guys come up with some other ideas, then I will show it too. So the one thing when you're speaking client that you cannot ever say is anything bad about another client, because this client will always wonder what you might say about them to other people. How many times have I seen, and I bet you've seen it too, on social media, how interpreters moan about their clients, how they moan about bad client behavior. Oh my God, these people didn't use headsets. You'd think it's been a year already. They should know that they should be facing the camera instead of talking like this so that we can't see anything. Exactly. Agnieszka came out with it. She wins the prize. You never, ever want to complain about it, about your client. Because, of course, again, they'll start wondering, oh, this person is going to talk about their client. And not only that, they showed photographs of clients behaving badly. I certainly do not want to hire this interpreter. And when potential clients are seeing these posts and thinking they don't want to deal with somebody like that, they certainly don't want to be slagged off the way you're slagging them off. And so never, ever say bad things about clients in posts. And never, ever, as Agnieszka says, complain about that. Okay. So that was pretty much all I wanted to say today. If you come up with any other ideas of what you shouldn't say, feel free to put it in, and I will definitely show it if it's before the end of the show. And if it's not, then we'll just read it in the comments below the LinkedIn. Before we get to today's top tip, I just wanted to let you know a couple of things. First of all, if this show whet your appetite a bit and you want to work on speaking your new language of client instead of speaking interpreter, and you want to work on it in a more hands-on way, I'll be holding a 2-hour workshop on this very topic on September 30th at this time, so at 4 p.m. CET, the same time that I started today. If you're interested in getting more information, please put a 1, the number 1, in the comments, and I'll send that information on to you. During the 2 hours of the workshop, I'll give you 3 very practical tips that you can use on all of your writing and that we will use with some writing that you yourself will bring in. I won't read it, but you'll have something to actually work on and try and take these techniques and make them useful for you in your own communications. Okay, so put a 1 in the comments if you're interested. And now our next show will be on October 7th at 4 p.m. CET. And I'm very happy to let you know that I will be inviting back Frederick Kermish. This time, after our very useful July LinkedIn Live on sales and persuasion techniques, This time we're going to be role-playing sales conversations. So I'll be the client and Frederick will be you. And he'll give you all sorts of examples and explanations for his examples on what it is that we could be saying instead of the things that we're saying. So I hope that you will join us at that time, which will be next month on the 7th, so the first Sunday of October. So today's top tip is one that I think that you will recognize because we had it last time when Frederick was here, and that is empathize. You need to empathize with your client. You need to get into your client's head and understand what's important to him. What's important to the wife in this Instagram reel is that there's only one of these amazing dresses available. What's important to the guy is that he won't have to do any household chores for at least a month, and he's going to get to go fishing with his friends at least once. So if you empathize with your client, if you put yourself in their shoes, you'll understand better what they're worried about, and you can frame your message in such a way that your client will then understand why it's important, why it's so important to do whatever it is you need them to do. But you'll frame it in such a way that it is an answer to one of their problems and not an answer to one of yours. So I hope that that made sense. Look at whatever situation is through the eyes of your client, and your clients will absolutely love it. And that's it. Thank you so much for coming today. And especially thank you for all the number ones in the comments and for your questions as well. And I'll see you next month with my guest, Frederick Kermish, and role-playing sales conversations. Have a great rest of your weekend. Thank all of you as well.